morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Health Discourse with Sakshi and Sushant. So, hi, Sushant. Good morning.
Morning. Yeah.
Happy Navratri.
You send to you.
Thank
Happy
you.
Navratri to everyone who are listening to our podcast today.
Yes, to all our listeners. And today, our talk is going to be a little different from what we have discussed so far. So, Sushant, these days we have seen that a lot of mental health issues like depression, anxiety, panic attacks, and then dementia, they are cropping up among people a lot, right? And we have read a lot of articles around that, gut health is responsible for this mental health issues, right? So, can you shed some light on how the gut brain axis actually works, because we have heard that it is responsible, but there is very few people talk about how it actually works.
I think we have discussed this, but let me brief you. Gut and brain are connected to each other through vagus nerve, right? So vagus nerve actually sends the gut microbial derived metabolites, right, and passes the information to the brain, right, and then again, that's how these metabolites uh, could travel from gut to brain via vagus nerve and can do a lot of inflammatory stuff inside the brain, right? But the major important thing to understand is the HPA axis, which regulates our stress response, right? So when we are stressed, whether it is financial stress, whether it is work stress, whether it is relationship stress, right? It activates HPA axis, which is hypothalamus pituitary adrenal gland axis, right? Which leads to release of cortisol. When cortisol is released, or there's a fight and flight response, right? It gives a message to your gut that something your body is getting attacked, and right, your body close on all the non-essential functions, including digestive tract, right? So that's why people who have stress have digestive issues. When this thing happens, right, there's a gut dysbiosis of imbalance in the gut microbiome because of cortisol, which further could lead to production of pro-inflammatory metabolites, which could trigger upregulation of certain cytokines and pro-inflammatory cytokines, which could do inflammation in the brain and start further activates HPA axis, right? And again, what happens next is the vicious cycle, right? So stress causes HPA activation of HPA axis, which causes gut dysbiosis. In turn, gut dysbiosis, if there's a gut dysbiosis due to wrong dietary choices, improper nutrition, right? It further can lead to activation of HPA axis, which further leads to cortisol, and this is how it's a vicious cycle, right? Your anxiety, depression issues, your panic attacks, all these are, we all know it is linked to your gut microbiome, right? Not only so here we don't, the important thing is that it is not about the existence of a particular bacteria, right? It is about the biochemical activities or the functions they perform. That is what facilitates this gut-brain communication, and that is what disrupts your or interferes with the brain function or causes neuroinflammation, right? So this is something which is very important, right? But my today I want to specifically focus on role of oral microbiome in brain health, which has not been too much emphasized upon till now, right? So I'm going to discuss about how certain microbes, what specific functionalities, functions or pathways which would lead to sort of impact of oral microbiome on brain health, how oral health is connected with the brain health, and I'll also briefly touch upon Parkinson's, but we will discuss in detail when we have the International Parkinson's Day on 11th, right? But let us discuss about oral microbiome. So probably you could let me know if you want to start with something on the oral microbiome. You have some
Yes,
questions.
I think we should probably start with what is the connection between oral microbiome and mental health, right? You have just told us about the HPA axis of the brain, right? And
Mhm.
how the gut is responsible. Now, how oral comes into picture in this case?
Okay, so it is important to understand that mouth is the first body organ or tissue which get exposed to external things, whether it is pathogens, food, hygiene, environment, everything, right? And it is the second largest colonizer of microbes in our body after gut, right? Still, since gut is the largest colonizer, largest colonizer, so essentially, it has been the preferred site to study the functions of the microbiome, right? But now we are finding that the oral microbiome, microbes, living in the mouth at various places, right? In our gums, on our tongue, in our teeth, cheeks, everywhere, right? They have a lot to say, uh, not only in case of oral health, so in imbalance in the oral microbiome or oral microbial discourse is said to cause cavities, tooth decay, gum disease, periodontal disease, even oral cancer situations, right? But what we have not realized that, these are linked to systemic health issues. For instance, microbes in our mouth could cause diabetes, arthritis, cardiovascular disease, chronic kidney disease, even gut inflammation, IBD, right? Colon cancer. So there are multiple things. And again, the basic mechanics of it is that, they are site specific. So till the time they are living in your mouth, right? They may be doing good things, right? Performing beneficial processes. But if they move out of this and move to other tissues or accumulate to other tissues such as brain or heart, right? Uh, or even gut, it could trigger systemic health issues. And how this happens is again inflammation. So if the wrong nutrition choices or wrong hygiene, probably taking too much of mouthwashes, having to using toothpaste which is high in fluoride or a lot of artificial sweeteners or excellent chemicals like SLS, which is again a detergent, right? Saccharides, aspartame, a lot of these things which could imbalance your oral microbiome, or consuming too much of sugar, right? Not consuming uh, antioxidants and polyphenols, not consuming a lot of herbs, which could imbalance your oral microbiome, right? So it could trigger inflammation. It could lead to overactivation of immune response, which could trigger inflammation, right? Over a period of time, this inflammation could cause situations such as leaky gums, right? So if you have bleeding gums, it is a situation of leaky gums, and these microbes could move to other places, for instance, such as brain, uh, your heart, and everywhere. And specifically, there are certain microbes. What we have found that certain microbes could enter the bloodstream, cross the blood-brain barrier, and go to the brain, right? And this could actually lead to production of a lot of harmful metabolites and accumulation of toxin products in the brain, which could cause neuroinflammation, right? So that is one basic of what uh, we call is the bacterial and the metabolites translocation, right? Specifically, Streptococcus mutans, again, Streptococcus mutans, P. gingivalis, all these are microbes from the mouth. They are found, until unless they're not expressing a virulence gene or expressing, certain genes which would cause inflammatory activities, right? They are not bad, right? But when they move to other places, they start doing bad things. So Streptococcus mutans, for instance, can induce cerebral hemorrhage, which could actually damage your endothelial cells of cerebral vessels, right? Which could cause inflammation. Or P. gingivalis, when it moves to the bloodstream and it goes to the brain in the central nervous system, right? It could produce a neurotoxic protease called gingipane. Again, gingipane can disrupt, uh, amyloid precursor protein processing, or it leads to, buildup of amyloid beta plaques, which could cause neuroinflammation, which is one of the key factors. The buildup of amyloid beta plaque is a key factor for uh, dementia, Alzheimer's, right? So oral microbiome is somewhere connected with the onset and progression of Alzheimer's, right? That is one aspect, right, where we talk of translation. Other is neuroinflammation, right? Due to this translocation, a lot of these bacteria and their metabolites would move the bloodstream and brain, and this could lead to upregulation of certain, pro-inflammatory cytokines such as IL-16, IL-1, TNF-alpha, a lot of these things, right? And it could trigger neuroinflammation, further disrupt blood-brain barrier, right? And lead to accumulation of toxins, right? So that's how it could trigger the inflammation in the brain, right? An interesting thing, what we have found that people who have chronic periodontal disease, right, which is a gum disease, right, it is a polymicrobial disease. It's not caused by one bacteria, but multiple bacteria, even expressing virulence genes or upregulation of virulence factor could lead to sort of periodontal disease, and these people who have periodontal disease are a higher risk of you know, uh, neuroinflammation, neurological, neurodegenerative disorders, right? Specifically, what there's a research which found that so people who have this chronic periodontitis, right? Chronic periodontal disease, right? Uh, would have a high level of LPS in the brain, lipopolysaccharides. We have discussed in the gut theory, that is one of the factor which causes diabetes, and oral LPS is something which is found in the brain which could lead to overexpression of TLR4, which is again cause neuroinflammation and further disrupt the blood-brain barrier permeability, lead to blood-brain barrier permeability, right? So that's how the gum disease, the things happening in the mouth is connected with the brain health, right? So these are very, very important things from the point of view of brain health, from the point of view of dementia. Another thing, what a lot of people do not know, right, and it is important to understand. So that's why I'm saying, that's why we at GFit focus both on gut and oral microbiome, right? Because gut and oral share 50% of the microbes, right? So for instance, Fusobacterium nucleatum, which is one of the bacteria which causes IBD and cancer, is a oral microbiome, right? So similarly, oral dysbiosis could trigger gut inflammation, right? And when we sequence our oral, you in our oral microbiome solution, when we sequence the oral microbiome, we also tell you your gut inflammation score, right? So it could actually directly impact, the gut-brain axis, which we discussed, right? Due to gut inflammation, gut dysbiosis, and disrupt the gut-brain communication, it leads to production of cortisol, right? Again, cortisol is said to disrupt the oral microbiome uh, function, is said to cause further cause oral microbial dysbiosis. Again, it's a vicious cycle, right? So if you have oral dysbiosis, the certain microbes could, through saliva, we swallow 1.5 liter of saliva every day, and a lot of bacteria move to the gut, right? And if they, these all, a lot of these Fusobacterium nuclearis, gingivalis could move to gut, it could trigger inflammation, could lead to uh, disrupt the blood-brain communication, right? And essentially, this gut-brain communication could further trigger activate or activate HPA axis, which could trigger cortisol. Cortisol is said to disrupt the oral microbiome. This is what happens, right? So again, this is all connected, right? And even like I mentioned about the vagus nerve, there's a trigeminal nerve, right? Which facilitates the coordination between oral microbes and the brain, right? So there are multiple things, multiple pathways which connect oral microbiome with lot of brain functionalities, neuroinflammation, production of neurotoxins, protease, right? And even Parkinson's, right? So when we talk of Parkinson, it is actually your motor dysfunction and uh, loss of dopamine producing neurons, right? So you have tremors and a lot of these things. So it has been found that a lot of these Streptococcus mutans, P. gingivalis, right? These all start doing inflammation in the brain, right? Activate certain immune cells like microglia, and certain infiltration of certain immune cells like Th1, which causes these tremors and so probably we'll discuss about Parkinson on 11th in detail, right? But so it is not only about the gut microbiome, it is also about the microbes in the mouth, which could cause inflammation in the brain, right? Which could trigger stress, which could trigger depression, which could be a reason for dementia, right? Which could lead to a lot of accumulation, a lot of toxic products inside the brain, right? So So again, it is not about only the communication between CNS and ENS, which is again the first brain and second brain, because gut is called the second brain, and there has been a communication between gut and brain, right? But or the communication between oral and oral brain axis through what we call is OMBA, oral microbiota brain axis, right? So this communication have an impact on our brain health, on our mental health. Yeah.
I think that's pretty, that there are a lot of insights that over the time that you have given, and it always makes us realize that our choices, our lifestyle choices, our nutrition, and especially whenever you mention about in terms of oral microbiome, about the toothpaste and the mouthwash and the saccharins that are actually used. So it makes me wonder that actually, are there actually any products which can help people from disruption of oral microbiome? Because a lot of us, I mean, a lot of people, they don't know how to read the ingredients of toothpaste and how to actually identify the right product for them. So what will be your suggestion to these people?
So I think I've done a video on the mouthwash, but I'll just give you a brief, right? So there are certain things when sodium lauryl sulfate, which is a detergent, right? It is put in the toothpaste so that you have this foamy thing happening inside the mouth. Then there are saccharins and aspartame, right? And a lot of these harmful chemicals, right, which disrupt your oral microbiome, right? That is one thing, right? So again, mouthwashes is do the same thing to your mouth which antibiotics does to your gut, right? So mouthwashes cleans your 99% of the bacteria. Mouthwash disrupts your nitric oxide production by nitrate pathway, right? And again, we all know that nitric oxide production, nitric oxide is play a key role in insulin signaling. It's a vasodilator. It helps in the blood pressure level, right? It helps in the blood flow, oxygen uptake and delivery. So it is also nitric oxide deficiency is also connected with the occurrence of erectile dysfunction, right? So it's all connected to your mouth, right? So taking Viagra for instance for erectile dysfunction, right? It is not going to help because ultimately, you need to there is a messenger called cyclic GMP which actually ensures the blood flow. For this, the Viagra needs nitric oxide to do that, right? So essentially, all these men's sexual health products are not going to help in terms of erectile dysfunction, right? If your nitric oxide production is diminished or there's a deficiency of nitric oxide production or that pathway is not activated, right? Or there's a lot of oxidative stress or inflammation going on, right? So it's not only about so obviously you need to brush twice, right? You need to uh, floss, right? You need to clean your the leftover things, food in your mouth, right? That has to be cleaned because that could be degrade and cause a lot of harm and you know trouble. And plus the nutrition choices, right? Right? Nobody looks at the oral microbiome, right? So people who are pre-diabetic, right? Do their CGMs tell what is your nitric oxide production, or do they really tell probably do they incorporate the role of hydroxyapatite, which is a form of calcium, which should be there in the toothpaste, which is not there, right? So the toothpaste is overloaded fluoride and SLS and a lot of these things, right? Even mouthwashes. So all these have an impact on your metabolic health, right? So also understanding the nutrition choices for your oral microbiome, which is again, you know, what we do is entirely data-driven at Gene Critics, right? So there's no room of any human intervention. There's no room of any nutritionist or coach or trainer or any fad diet. So it's all based on your biology, all based on your biochemical activities performed by your oral microbiome, right? Which again determines what specific food, what specific nutrients, what polyphenols, what herbs, what proteins, what carbs, what fats, right? What specific molecules, substrates, resveratrol, what prebiotics, probiotics, and what vitamins and minerals your body needs, right? So again, this is really, really essential to understand, right? It is the a lot of your mouth is itself connected with everything inside the body, and even since gut and oral share 50% of the microbes, right? So the oral microbiome is really really important. And also, just before we close the talk, right? It is important to understand that just sequencing your DNA of your microbe or knowing which microbe is there, right? It is not going to help because your tissues, your heart, your brain does not have you know eyes. They respond to biochemical signals. So you need to understand the biochemical activities performed by various microbiomes, right? And again, see, there are 30,000 plus food molecules. There are every microbe is performing more than 3,000 plus of biochemical functions. There are 100,000 genes being expressed. There are 40 trillion microbes. There are multiple data sets which no one can actually decode, right? So essentially, you really need to, now you have technology to actually decode and analyze those functions and, convert into nutrition interventions which could regulate your oral biology, right? Even including your brain health, your metabolic health, your cardiovascular health, your gut health, right?
Yes, Sushant, that's completely correct. And I agree with everything that you just said, because about nutrition, it is extremely vital for us to, optimize nutrition as per the biology of an individual, right? Which
Mhm.
is which is actually the going to be the way forward. Otherwise, during these times when there's a lot of food adulteration and chemicals are added to the food, like we discussed in our previous talk, so I don't think the human survival, we will not be able to go beyond 60 in any case. That is our
No,
lifespans,
no,
our health
we no,
span.
no, we can go, but thing is, we have to resort to medicines, right? We have to
But that is not life, You're popping up pills like four, five pills every day, twice a day, and that's horrible,
see.
to ask me.
I've seen the difference because when we went to Delhi and compare that with the population in Himachal, right? People in Himachal, they are 10 times more healthier than those in Delhi, right? Although people here also the lot of these corporatization of food is happening, but still people who live in suburb towns and in you know uh, small low-lying areas like we do, right? So essentially here, our microbiome is much, much more diverse and much better than those in Delhi, right, or other metro places, right? Because we are killing our microbiome by consuming, every coffee you consume, in a coffee shop is laden with sugar, right? And the first thing what happens is when you eat sugar is it actually makes your oral pH more acidic, and when it is acidic, it becomes a breeding ground for a lot of pathogens inside the mouth, right? They start doing inflammation, and you will have tooth decay, you will have gum disease, you will have periodontal disease, and all this again is long linked to diabetes. So people who have gum disease have diabetes, high risk of diabetes, high risk of cardiovascular disease, high risk of Alzheimer's, high risk of brain health, stress, anxiety, depression. Right? We all know that, right? And knowing you're consuming, even if you see any packaged healthy snacks which you call, right? It has it has sugar, it has artificial sweetener, it has these refined oils, like refined cottonseed oil and
Palm
all
oil.
this
Palm
palm
oil is
oil.
very popular these days. And they
Right?
are also using this rice bran oil. I don't really know what exactly it means, that what is rice bran. My understanding says it's something to do with rice husk or something like that.
So
But
simple thing is, simple first thing is in terms of the first step, which should you should clear your pantry of all these packaged stuff which have this sugar, added sugar, these refined oils, artificial sweeteners, right? These all are not required. So you may think, okay, fine, I'm consuming it, but it first interacts with microbes in your mouth, right? And as I told you that microbes in the mouth is considered that is thing it is actually a total body health. An imbalance in oral microbiome could cause every single chronic disease, right? Even the low nitric oxide production is linked to even chronic kidney disease. I think we discussed this earlier also, right? So it is really, really important to understand the functions of the oral microbiome, right? So as of now in India, we are the only one focusing on the functions of the microbiome. There are different
I
pathways.
think in Asia Pacific we are the only one, if you ask
Yeah,
me.
and the pathways which we have decoded, even we could even cover the role of oral microbiome in colon cancer. Even we are currently undergoing the research where oral microbiome is going to be pancreatic cancer, right? So we are opening up for now we are getting into the situation where we could address uh, people with high risk of cancer or dealing with cancer to balance rebalance their oral gut microbiome. Right? So that is something we are coming up now very soon, right? So again, these things are really going to help people actually take the control of their health over own hands, right?
Thank you, Sushant, for such an intuitive discussion, and all the points that you have mentioned. They totally make sense to, people who have certain set of problems and then they did really don't know what to do, right? Now, for all our listeners, thank you for listening to our talks, and we are available on Spotify, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcast. Thank you.
Thank you.